他の奴らとは違うことを見せてやる。月光町である。
However, the suckiness of the toys of the card game are no match for the full-blown horror that is the Redakai TV show.
But before I get into that, I think I need to explain some things about the last episode. When I called the lenticular graphics a dancing bear, I was meaning that it was just a spectacle to grab attention, not necessarily an impressive or well-done spectacle. I realized this after discovering an attack with an animation that actually impressed me. The Doom Jaws animation here looks fantastic with its wide, sweeping range of movement and dynamic approach. Unfortunately, Doom Jaws appears to be the exception that proves the rule, as most other attacks lack such an incredible animation. Yeah, the actual cards only wish they looked as good as they do in the commercials. Someone had real fun in After Effects to make them look that nice. Most, like Screech Stunner, have very lazy motion compared to Doom Jaws and looks like they were made by piddling around in Blender for about 5 minutes. Do they only have one person on staff animating these or something? Now, regarding the game balance, there are cards that have absolutely no reason to exist. For example, Mandy Blades and Boulder Punch. They have the same cost, the same power, the same color, and the same damage, but Boulder Punch also has a special effect, making Mandy Blades completely inferior. Another one is Sewage Slam, which makes Laser Claws and Ice Spikes both totally obsolete, beating Laser Claws in power and Ice Spikes in cost. And regarding Ice Spikes, Cannon Fodder beats it in both categories, being both cheaper and more powerful. As if the microglyph animation useless couldn't get any worse. And that's just within one color. If we try crossing colors, we get things like Voodoo Trance versus Fire Tornado. Yowza, there's really no comparison there. Well, that's all I really need to catch up on, so let's get back into it with Marathon and Zodiac's portion of this failure pie.
Made by Marathon Media, the same people behind Totally Spies and Gourmety, the Redakai TV show is about a kid named Kai Stax, yeah, real subtle there, and his friends Boomer and Maya who, you know what, I'll just let them explain it.
I'm Kai, leader of Team Stax. As Kairu warriors, only we can save Earth from the evil forces of Lokar. The Kairu we find unlocks new X drives, which give us powerful attacks and the ability to transform into incredible monsters.
Yeah, that's basically it, and here I thought those sorts of segments died out in the mid-90s. It sounds like a decent idea, but then you get into actually watching the show.
You're clearly no match for my Kai-tastic moves. And yes, I did just say Kai-tastic.
I did a riff of episode 1 and it really doesn't get any better. Kai, Maya, and Boomer basically have no personality and many lines are interchangeable between them. The same applies to all of the villains pretty much. You could remove Tekris, Zaire, Teeny, and Kaz from the cast entirely and not notice any difference. Even the fight scenes are no good. For example, in episode 2, Maya is brainwashed by the bad guys and, along with a team of the bad guys, fights the remaining 2 heroes in the deserts of Egypt. Now you expect this to be a pretty serious situation, but after the good guys run away, they are seen fighting just one of these guys for, like, 2 minutes. Bonus points for getting said bad guy to destroy the last remaining wonder of the world. Then Maya shows up, but the fight with her also happens 2-1. In the time it taken to cure Maya's brainwashing and have Maya fight the guy from before, the other 2 are nowhere to be found, finally coming out just in time to be hit by Maya's finishing move. How convenient. What, were those 2 making out behind the pyramid this whole time or something? Along with being rather bland, Kai and Co are also really stupid.
We need to get out of here, like now!
Well, I'd love to Kairu blast them back to wherever they came from, but I don't want to waste energy.
I'm not gonna spend a little energy to escape certain death, jeez! Even Maya, supposedly the smartest and most experienced member of the group, is pretty dumb.
That worked even better than I thought it would. Or not.
This also has the effect of having to make the villains be virtually brain dead in order to try to make Team Stax look smart by comparison.
I should be able to break right through this old sandstone in no time.
These characters are given virtually no character development. By the way, getting a new power and trying it out is not character development.
Unless it involves like some kind of ethical or moral debate, or involves physical growth of the character in figuring out how to properly use the technique.
Really, anything that could be character development or generate tension is really glossed over. Heck, everything about this show is glossed over. The story, the plot, the comedy, the characters, all of it. The show tries to do everything and thus accomplishes nothing. A lot of this is tied to the general clumsiness of the show's writing. They try to deliver morals that are either extremely broad that everybody already knows, such as slavery is bad, or they deliver it in the dumbest way possible. Like a green message where someone leads the charge to protect the forest by hurling a huge tornado of fire around within said forest.
Wow, when it comes to nature, you don't mess around, Maya.
Team Stacks is all sorts of crap that they're never held accountable for, like kicking rocks at people, wrecking the Great Pyramids, throwing fire in a forest in nearly every episode after the one I showed before.
Imperia! Fire tornado!
Practice! Magma minions!
As you have been watching this review, Team Stacks has destroyed 1,000 acres of forest. Please don't let Team Stacks destroy the forests.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
That run was only stopped because the next episode took place in the middle of the ocean.
Add to that is the fact that Team Stacks is just plain mean. They scowl and they use trash talk, and they're just not nice people.
No, the rules are clear. No attacks can be thrown on civilians. Firing at us is bad enough, but putting one of the world's most amazing architectural achievements in danger is a whole other thing.
Hey, Satan! I'm over here! Kairu warriors aren't supposed to fight with swords, remember? Plasma sword!
Thunder sword!
The dumbness never ends. In one episode, the door to their ship, the Escaper, is frozen shut. Gee, if only one of them had the power to create swords of plasma or hurl huge tornadoes of fire that could melt the ice. I guess there weren't enough trees around for them to consider that option. Probably the only characters with any chance of being redeemable are the Imperias. The Imperias are a group of Lokar's minions who only work for him because he is keeping their parents hostage. However, the Imperias frequently bicker amongst one another and as a result are much more interesting to watch than Team Stacks.
Remember, I'm the one who's in charge here.
How could we forget? You tell us every day.
If anything, the main characters need to behave more like Team Imperias. Or, you know what? Make the Imperias the main characters!
Oh, goody! Sounds like I'm about to have another great idea.
The Imperias would make better characters because their situation is sympathetic, their stakes are higher, and their interactions have much more character.
Ew!
And that is exactly what Team Stacks is lacking. Character. The Imperias at least deserve a spotlight episode after the horrible treatment the writers, I mean, Team Stacks has given them.
I hate it! I hate it!
Newsflash, we hate it too.
Another part of why this is so bad is because of the incredibly strict episode structure. In every episode, there's a scuffle at the end of the first act and then a full-blown fight at the end. The problem is, both of these fights take a huge amount of time to happen, cutting heavily into time that could be used to set up plot or atmosphere. The episodes that stood a chance of being good are ruined by having these fights shoehorned into them. Imagine if Yugi had to play 2 complete duels an episode. It's about like that. The battles serve the purpose of showing off the things in the card game and the toys, which, of course, is the entire purpose of the show in the first place. Then again, the product placement in this show is the thickest I've ever seen, and I watch Cheat Commandos.
Cheat Commando's headquarters playset is under attack. Quick, everyone, to the action figure storage vehicle. Buy all our playsets and toys.
I mean, take the very first time Kai uses Gold Metanoid.
Wow! I definitely want one of those!
Yes, kids, now you too can own your very own Gold Metanoid for just $19.99 plus shipping and handling. And then at the end of the episode, the characters basically open up a booster pack of cards and rattle off random card names, even though we're never gonna see them use any of them.
Time dodge. Nice.
Whoa, circuits! With an awesome electric crush attack!
Sonic Slap! I needed that!
Admittedly, this series does not play much to Marathon's strengths. The good shows Marathon makes usually rely on camp appeal and comedy, something this series clearly lacks. Spin Master is actually trying to take advantage of the fact that Marathon made the cartoon for Gormiti, just like they openly tried to compare it to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Bakugan here. By the way, how is Gormiti doing these days? Oh, the blandness! The blandness! I mean, seriously, if I turn this picture black and white, I can't tell these guys apart. I mean, I can pick out Jessica because she's a girl with wings, but the other 3 look exactly the same. There's also a trailer out there for what looks like a very early version of the show. It looks flashier, but it strikes me as actually being worse than what we ended up getting, if such a thing were possible. I mean, look at these monsters. Lame! It has the look of a Marathon Media production, so I imagine this was made as an early treatment to try to sell the property to companies that would help them fund its eventual creation. This trailer wouldn't have sold me, since it looks like every other generic action franchise out there, only with less characterization. I mean, who in their right mind would have picked up this obvious turd? Oh right, I forgot. Now there are some good things about the show. Spin Master clearly put some money down for quality of animation, and I've only noticed a couple of errors, the most noticeable being Zane's teleporting neck. Classy. Otherwise, the animation is good. The character design isn't that bad either, even if it does look like everyone has construction paper for hair. Then again, like I've said before, I don't take animation into account for the quality of a series unless it's exceptionally good or exceptionally bad. So the above average animation doesn't win at any points. Oh yeah, speaking of writing, I've been saving the worst for last. There is something about Redakai that any self-respecting human being should despise it for. If you don't hate it for the high prices, if you don't hate it for the bland character design, if you don't hate it for the lousy morals, then hate it for this. Warning, what follows is possibly the most offensive thing ever put into a children's television show. Viewer discretion is advised.
Not so fast, Professor.
Surely you're not going to take me captive? That would be uncivilized.
Of course not.
Forgive me! I told you I was sorry! I'll never do it again!
Wait, what just happened there? Let's rewind it. Gee, I don't know what they'd call it, but from where I'm from, we call that an old-fashioned lynching. Only, you know, with a pterodactyl instead of a truck. What? 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 Who thought this was a good idea? Is this supposed to be funny? It's about as funny as the Holocaust. I mean, rather than turn him into the authorities, they string him up to a pterodactyl by his ankle, which then proceeds to fly so fast it drags it horizontally behind it?
This isn't funny!
I wish I didn't have to be the one to say this. I wish nobody had to say this, but... Attention, Marathon Media! Lynching is not, has never been, and never will be funny. Thank you. I mean, if he was clinging to the pterodactyl as it did barrel rolls, that would be different, but this is beyond barbaric. It's indecent, and belongs nowhere near a kid's show. One of the characters stripping down to their skivvies for an episode would be less offensive. What, would they have kicked him into the running engine of their X-Scaper if the pterodactyl hadn't been around? And this is the good guys doing this. Normally you would depict somebody doing something like this when you wanted to depict them as incredibly nasty people. Well, it worked! I am now utterly convinced that Team Stacks consists of nothing but completely despicable people. Hey man, I take offense to that! Who are you? I'm Kai, leader of Team Stacks. As Kyra Warriors, only we can save the world. What are you doing here? Hey man, I heard you saying some pretty bogus stuff about us. First of all, Redakai is totally awesome! Cause it's the first game to ever use lenticular cards. Look, woo! Oh, this ought to be good. That and the writing might not be Shakespeare, but hey man, what kind of kid show needs good writing anyway, right? I mean, you know, we can't do anything exciting cause, you know, parents groups might get mad at us or something.
Uh-huh. And strapping a guy to a pterodactyl by his ankle?
Hey man, you saw that guy knocked us off a cliff.
And somehow strapping a guy by his leg to a fast-moving object is more humane than due process? Yeah, I think we're done here.
Hey man, I could totally laser chiroblast that gun right out of your hand, but I'm way too smart to try to do anything like that. Suit yourself. And so, what's left to say? Well, first of all, know that I do not blame any of you who are fans of it out there. I also don't blame the stores that carry it, or the distributors that sold it, or the television networks that carry it. No, I blame just two things. Marathon Media and Spin Master. Marathon Media for most likely creating the idea, and Spin Master for taking money from a successful franchise and dumping it into an untested startup that nobody asked for, making overpriced, lousy quality stuff and trying to toss it into possibly the most tightly competitive toy market out there. This This is followed by stubbornness on prices and the release of increasingly pathetic products, which caused a huge failure for it in the United States, and I can't expect it to do well anywhere else.
I imagine Spin Master approached this theory with the thought, kids will buy any crap you put on television. They were thinking, Redakai is great, and everyone else is going to think it's so much better than everything else out there that they'd gladly pay extra. I hope they see that this is a huge bite taken out of both of those notions. I also hope they don't try to turn around and say, well, you can never tell which toy will be successful, because there were tons of things done wrong that served as warning signs for the future of this series. It had many, many perceivable flaws that were ignored through hubris. Scoffing at the standards of starter deck and booster pack prices that have been in place for over 10 years is certainly a doozy. Not caring if your peripherals are well designed, priced competitively, or even function properly is another. Having so much blind faith in your product that you don't do any research on how others like it turned out is a third, and Marathon Media doing anything other than a campy comedy action series is a fourth.
And they aren't done yet. They're still trying to peddle it overseas. After how badly it did in America, trying to claim that Redakai would be successful at this point is pretty much just bamboozling. Now, I'm not saying that this sort of bamboozling was Spin Master's idea at the start, but after all the money they've dumped into it, I'm pretty sure it's their MO now. And they're busy trading on the names of good games like Bakugan and Yu-Gi-Oh! In order to try to peddle their crap. So, in conclusion, Redakai has no redeeming qualities, save for one, to serve as a warning for how not to make a franchise. All the stuff you see here, I'll be keeping most of it around as a reminder to myself that if I ever develop anything, to make it nothing like Redakai. It's also why I'm not going to let Redakai go, because it is my thought that Redakai went down in a ball of flames, and took Bakugan down with it. Spin Master, I hope this serves as a lesson to you to never do anything like this again. Ever. I don't want my local Spin Master representatives losing their jobs because you made a horrible mistake. I like them, and I want them to stay employed working on good franchises. And Redakai simply isn't one of them, and most everybody in the United States has recognized that. In fact, I think the only reason any Redakai cards sold in the store I work in is because kids mistook it for Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and their parents didn't care enough to correct them. But right now, Redakai is exactly where it belongs. On the shelves of a closeout store, pinned right between Extractars and Denko Sekka. The end of Redakai is not a victory. Due to the sheer scale of its distribution and the sheer scale of its failure, it has made many stores skeptical about carrying new games that will have to struggle to even be noticed. It has left its mark on history, and hopefully the bad memories will make an impact and we will never again have to deal with another Redakai. Oh.